classes could not be run because of the fact that I was not here. There was vacation of Dashara. So I want to refresh your memory regarding the last lecture. I think that we have discussed the breakdown theory. And two grounds for breakdown theory is being provided under 13(1)(a) of the Hindu Marriage Act. The first ground is when decree of judicial separation has been passed by the court and the parties are not in a position to live together, to cohabit together for 1 year or upward. So this is the first ground which is being there. The second ground which is added, that if restitution of conjugal right decree has been passed and 1 or more year has elapsed and the party is not able to restitute with each other. So these are actually the two grounds which are being provided. Now, I have pointed out this is actually added by the 1964. This is the new concept which is being actually evolved and introduced in the Hindu Marriage Act. Actually, this is the concept which is borrowed from the Western society. And it is being added in the year of 1964. And previously, the period which is mentioned here, 1 year. In 1964, the period was 2 years. If judicial separation decree or restitution of conjugal right decree has been passed, and 2 years or upward, the parties are not able to cohabit together or restitute together. In 1976, actually, this period of 2 years has been reduced into the period of 1 year. Now, 1 year is being actually mentioned. Now, the controversial point which I have left today in last lecture to discuss today, the controversial point is that this is the new concept which is being added to whether the provision of the old Hindu law will apply or not. Provision of old Hindu law means, here the provision of old Hindu law means whether 23(1)(a) will apply or not. Because under 23(1)(a), the provision is that if any party who is on the fault, or better to say what is the written in provision, I want to put before you, no person shall be allowed to take the advantage of his or her own wrong or disability. The question is whether, if any petition which is 5(1)(a), whether 23(1)(a) will apply. What does it mean? It means that I am just giving one example before you. Suppose the husband firstly obtained the decree of restitution of conjugal right and did not allow the wife to enter in the house, and when 1 year has been passed, if he files the petition for the divorce, whether it will be considered or not, whether 23(1)(a) will apply or not, because here in this case, husband has taken advantage of his own wrong. Firstly, he took the restitution of conjugal right decree, and secondly, he did not allow the wife to join him. So moreover, this is the one controversy which is being here. And here number of the cases are being here, we have to discuss today. The first concept which is evolved in this relation, and the concept is actually being followed by so many high courts. And concept which is applied, that is 23(1)(a), here interpretation which is given by most of high court, they have applied 23(1)(a), while the petition is being filed under 13(1)(a). It means that even though this is the new concept which is added, but old provision of Hindu law shall apply. Here Hindu law 23(1)(a) is being provided, even though the petition has been filed under 13(1)(a), 23(1)(a) applies. And here number of cases, high court cases I can put before you. The name of the case is Chaman Lal versus Mohinder Devi, Punjab High Court. Raghuveer versus Satyapal, again Punjab High Court. Sakuntala versus Sardari, again Punjab and Haryana High Court, 1972. Syal versus Syal, again Punjab High Courts. Lakshmi Bai versus Lakshmi Chand, Bombay High Court, 1968. Someshwara versus Leelavati, Mysore High Court. Geeta versus Sarveshwara, 1983, Andhra Pradesh High Court. So these are all the cases which are actually being referred, where the opinion of the High Court was very clear, and the High Courts were opined that when the new concept, no doubt it is added under 13(1)(a), but the provision of Hindu law shall apply. So this is one of the things which is being actually projected by the High Courts. Now another case I want to put before you, the name of the case is O.P. Misra versus Saroj. This is Delhi High Court decision 1984. And in this case actually, the fact of the case I want to put before you, the husband filed a petition of divorce on the ground of adultery. Now, firstly, husband took the restitution of conjugal right decree. Firstly, the husband took the restitution of conjugal right decree. Thereupon, he filed another petition for divorce on the ground of wife's adultery. O.P. Mehra versus Saroj. So firstly, husband filed the petition for restitution of conjugal right and obtained the decree. And later on, he filed the divorce case against the wife on the ground of adultery. While the case was pending, 1 year was elapsed, and now he proceed under the 13(1)(a), clause 2, restitution of conjugal right decree he has already obtained. So he proceed under 13(1)(a), clause 2, in order to get the decree of divorce. Here actually, in this case, Delhi High Court has applied the same principle which was applied by the above high courts. Delhi High Court has pointed out actually the husband is taking the advantage of his own wrong. What is his wrong? Firstly, he filed the restitution of conjugal right petition and got the decree. And secondly, he is labeling the charge against the wife for adultery. So no respectful wife shall join the company of the husband who is putting the charge against her of the adultery. So this is actually the thing which was taken by the court very seriously. And the court's view was very clear. And here husband shall not be allowed to take the advantage of his or her own wrong. Therefore, petition was being dismissed. Now another case I want to put before you, and these are the two high court decisions. One is Madhukar versus Sarla. This is Bombay High Court decision of 1973. And the second case, that is Geeta versus Sarveshwara. This is 1983 Madhya Pradesh High Court decision. Andhra Pradesh, not Madhya Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh High Court decision. And here in both the cases, the observation of the High Court was if a wrong or disability of the petitioner is subsequent after passing the decree, then non-compliance of decree of restitution of conjugal right is no wrong. What does it mean? Here the court has laid out that once a husband or the wife got the restitution of conjugal right, and later on, if he committed any wrong or she committed any wrong, then it is not very important for the petition under the 13(1)(a). So this is the approach which is being actually taken by the Bombay and Andhra Pradesh High Court. Apart from that, one more decision, that is Bhai Mani versus Jayanti Lal. This is Gujarat High Court decision. Here actually consideration by the Gujarat High Court was that firstly the adultery was being committed by the husband, and on the basis of the adultery, he got the judicial separation decree, and later on continue with the committing of the adultery. Now, the proposition which was laid down by the Gujarat High Court was that here the wrong not committed by the husband, but this wrong is not creating any inhibition to get the relief under 13(1)(a). It means these are the three cases: Madhukar versus Sarla, Geeta versus Sarveshwari, Bhai Mani versus Jayanti Lal. In all three cases, Bombay, Andhra Pradesh and the Gujarat High Court has propounded the view that if any wrong is being committed later on after obtaining the decree, either of restitution of conjugal right or judicial separation, this is not actually create any bars in taking the remedy under 13(1)(a). It means that even though party is at the wrong, but here the remedy he can get under 13(1)(a), it means he can get the divorce decree. So this is inconsistency you can get. I have referred earlier decision, I have referred O.P. Mehra case, I have also referred this case of the Madhukar versus Sarla, Geeta versus Sarveshwari, Mani Bhai versus Jayanti Lal. You can get the inconsistency. In the previous case, the petitioner was not allowed to take the advantage of his or her own wrong. But in the later cases, if the wrong is being committed by the petitioner, it shall not be taken into consideration. And the decree of divorce may be passed against 13(1)(a). I am just coming, one person is coming. I am just coming. 1 minute. From the various high courts. So it is better just to go through the decision of the Supreme Court. And there is a decision of the Supreme Court. Name of the case is Dharmendra versus Usha, 1976 Supreme Court decision. Here the Supreme Court was very clear on that point, that the law which is laid down in the O.P. Mehra case, that law was bad. It means what? It means that the Supreme Court was very clear that Section 23 should not apply in relation to the relief which is obtained on 13(1)(a). Meaning thereby, this is the new concept under 13(1)(a) which is being added. Since this is the new concept, therefore the old notion 23 shall not apply. After that, another Supreme Court decision. The name of the case is T. Srinivas versus T. Varalakshmi. This is 1999 Supreme Court decision. Here actually the Supreme Court laid down a different rule, or you can say inconsistent with the earlier rule. Earlier rule means Dharmender versus Usha case is actually without referring that decision, it is being actually overruled. So this is the technical point. Without referring any decision or any law point, if any decision is given, then this is called as per curiam judgment. This is called as per curiam judgment. And when there is a per curiam judgment, usually this is another source which is being opened. So in this case, the Supreme Court, T. Srinivas versus T. Varalakshmi, laid down a different proposition, or you can say opposite proposition in comparison to Dharmendra versus Usha, and pointed out that 23(1)(a) apply when any petition has been filed under the 13(1)(a). It means that petitioner shall not be allowed to take the advantage of his or her own wrong. So it means the High Court which was being earlier, the High Courts which were being earlier laid down the proposition, it was being again accepted by the Supreme Court in the case of Srinivas versus Varalakshmi. Now, case I want to put before you. In this case, actually, the husband was living in adultery. He was living in adulterous life and continue even after passing of the judicial separation decree. And on expiry of 1 year, he filed the petition for grant of the divorce. He also not paid any maintenance allowance to the wife. On these two facts, the court pointed out that husband was on the wrong and his petition was being refused. So this is another decision, another deviation we can say, where the court in Hirachand versus Hirachand Srinivas versus Sunanda. No, sorry. This Hirachand Srinivas versus Sunanda. This is 1970. This is the case. This is the case of the 2001 Supreme Court decision. And again the court reiterated the earlier proposition which was laid down in Varalakshmi case. It means what? If the petitioner is on the wrong, naturally he cannot get any relief under 13(1)(a) and his petition shall be dismissed. Now after that, this is actually the development which took place. Moreover, the one more thing which I want to put before you. So we can analyze well the Supreme Court decisions, and we came on the conclusion that the Supreme Court was also not consistent on this point. Supreme Court was not also consistent on this point. Now another case which came in 2006 before the Supreme Court, and this is very landmark decision which is being given by the Supreme Court. The name of the case is Naveen Kohli versus Neelu Kohli. Naveen Kohli versus Neelu Kohli. Here actually the Supreme Court requested to the Union government, Union of India, central government, that central government should consider to amend the existing act and introduce irretrievable breakdown as a ground of divorce. So this is very important case. Naveen Kohli versus Neelu Kohli. This is Supreme Court decision 2006, where the Supreme Court actually requested to the Union of India, central government, to seriously consider the existing act and to add irretrievable breakdown theory as a ground of divorce. So this is one development which is being actually put forward And moreover, another case, and the name of the case is Manjula versus K.R. Mahesh. Manjula versus K.R. Mahesh. This is 2006 decision again, but the page number is 2750. Earlier page number was 1675. It means it is earlier, it is later judgment. Here reconciliation proceedings was being failed. Actually, there was some difference between the husband and the wife. The case was being sent for the reconciliation. It was being failed. And parties, they were claiming that their marriages were irretrievably broken down. Here, the court taken a very progressive attitude. And the court pointed out that when the marriage is actually broken down irretrievably, irretrievably means asamadhi. Asamadhi means samadhan nahi hai. There is no any retrieval of that marriage. Then the marriage cell should be dissolved. So this is actually the proposition which is laid down by the Supreme Court. And this Neelu Kohli, Naveen Kohli versus Neelu Kohli, one Manjula versus K.R. Mahesh, these are the two important landmark decisions where the court actually has pointed out that if the marriage cell is being empty, there is no use to retain the marriage cell. When we are retaining that marriage cell which is empty, naturally it will create more and more problem in the society, not only to the marriage to the parties, but also the relatives of the marriage to the parties. Therefore, the court in Neelu Kohli case requested to the Central Government Union of India to reconsider this part Hindu Marriage Act 13(1)(a), and irretrievable breakdown should be added as a ground of divorce. Now, after that, the development took place that is very interesting. In actually after this recommendation, the Law Commission also in its 71 report under the Hindu Marriage Act and Special Marriage Act, both, the Law Commission under 71 report recommended that additional ground of divorce in the form of irretrievable marriage should also be added one of the ground in the Hindu Marriage Act as well as the Special Marriage Act. So this is the proposition which is actually being laid down by the Law Commission, and Law Commission actually report yaad rakhiyega 71 reports. The Law Commission recommended that additional ground of divorce should be introduced in the Hindu Marriage Act and Special Marriage Act. And actually, it was being recommended that modified version of irretrievable breakdown should be recognized as recognized in Matrimonial Causes Act. After that, there was one development. Amendment bill was being actually made by the Union Government, Central Government, and that bill is being called as Marriage Law Amendment Bill 1981. It was introduced in the Parliament, Marriage Law Amendment Bill 1981, and it was introduced before the Parliament. And here, if you go through the 81 bill, you can get that irretrievable breakdown is being added here as a ground for the divorce. But bill was being lapsed. The reason was that the women organizations, they opposed this bill, 1981 Marriage Law Amendment Bill. It was actually being opposed by the women organization. Then it was allowed to be lapsed. The provision of 1981 bill, I want to discuss before you, because this is very important bill whereby it has been initiated that irretrievable breakdown theory should be added. In this bill, it was recommended that one more clause should be added under 13C. We have the clause 13A, we have the clause 13(1)A, we have the clause 13B. Here actually the bill recommending one more clause, and the clause is being actually highlighted as 13C, 13D and 13E. 13E, see, that is very important for ourselves right now for our discussions. Here actually irretrievable breakdown has been added as a ground of divorce. And it is required under 13C part 1 that petition should be presented before the district court, and the year which is mentioned here in the subclass 2, that if the parties are not able to live, they are living apart for continuously 3 years, then the party may file the divorce on the ground that continuously for 3 years they are living separately. And this is considered as one of the ground for irretrievable marriage. Moreover, 13D, that is also one of the clause which is suggested to be added. And under 13D, the provision has been made that if any petition is being filed from the husband under 13C on the ground of irretrievable breakdown of marriage, then the wife may oppose, wife has the right to oppose that petition on the ground that this will create, any dissolution of marriage will create a financial hardship to the wife, and it would in all circumstances be wrong to dissolve the marriage. So under 13D, one right is also given to the wife, because once the marriage will be dissolved on the ground of irretrievable breakdown, that parties, they are living separately for 3 years, and if on that ground the marriage is being dissolved, naturally it will create a financial crisis to the wife. Therefore 13D is being added here, and under 13D, right is given to the wife that wife may oppose the dissolution of marriage, and a divorce decree should not be passed because it will create a financial hardship to the wife, and in all circumstances it will be a wrong to the marriage. If the wife is able to prove it, naturally, if the wife is able to prove it, naturally, the court shall not pass the divorce decree. And the 13E also here recommended. And objective of 13E is that provision should be made for maintenance of the children born out of that marriage. It means that if any child is being born out or any children are born out, then at the time of dissolution of marriage on the ground of irretrievable breakdown, then provision should be made for maintenance of the children or child. Any maintenance provision firstly be made, then the decree of dissolution should be passed. So this is actually Bill of 1981. It is having the importance. After that, I want to put another development, or that is a recent development. 1981, this was a very old and historical development. Actually, 2010 again, one bill again be introduced in 2010, and the name of the bill was Marriage Law Amendment Bill 2010. This bill was also on the same line as the bill was in 81. On the same line means all the things are being actually considered which was in 1981. And this 2010 bill, you can get by your website also. Again, recommendation was being made that 31C should be added, 31D should be added, and 31E should be added in Hindu Marriage Act. Apart from that, 13F should be also added. So here, the recommendation was in 2010 that apart from 13B, which already exists, this is mutual consent theory, 13C should be added, 13D should be added, 13E should also be added, and 13F should also be added. And moreover, this bill having the same provision which earlier bill was having, 13C, irretrievable breakdown, if the parties are living separately for 3 years. 13D, if it will create a financial hardship to the wife, the same provision is being retained. 13E, the same provision is being, if the marriage is being dissolved, provision of maintenance should be made to the children born out of the marriage. And 13F is regarding the compensation, and the wife should give in the compensation in the form of the share in immovable property of the husband. Fortunately, this 2010 bill, which is introduced before the parliament, it was passed by the Rajya Sabha in 2014. But unfortunate part is, the bill could not be passed by the Lok Sabha, and it was actually being lapsed. It was actually being lapsed. So this is a new concept which is actually recommending by the government, central government, that irretrievable breakdown should also be added. So please be clear in your mind. 13(1)(a), it is not irretrievable breakdown, it is only the breakdown theory. And the recommendation which is made in 1981 and the recommendation which has been made in 2010, in both the recommendations, here irretrievable breakdown theory is recommended to be introduced in the Hindu Marriage Act and Special Marriage Act, both. So this is a new concept which is being actually introduced, not introduced, but tried to introduce in the Hindu Marriage Act and Special Marriage Act, but it was being failed because the parliament was not able to pass it. Now, any question from any side? Any person having any question? No question? I am again repeating. Any question? Aditya Jha?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
No, sir.
Concept is clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is a irretrievable breakdown. This is different from the breakdown, and it has been added here. not added. It was tried to be added, but it was being failed. So I think that we have completed one topic. So next topic is mutual consent theory.
Excuse me, sir.
हाँ
सर जब ये इतना अमेंडमेंट हुआ इसके बाद लास्टली जब फेल्ड हो गया तो सर इसका पढ़ने का जरूरत क्या पड़ा हम लोग को?
आपको पढ़ने की जरूरत इसलिए पड़ी कि ये नया कंसेप्ट है रेट्रेबल ब्रेकडाउन. कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि आप ब्रेकडाउन को इरेट्रेबल ब्रेकडाउन समझ लें और कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जामिनेशंस में अगर इरेट्रेबल ब्रेकडाउन थ्योरी पूछी जाती है तो आप 13(1)(a) मत लिखें. आप ये जो नए बिल अमेंडमेंट बिल जो इंट्रोड्यूस किए गए थे और फेल हो गए उनकी चर्चा करें.
मतलब ये सर एग्जाम में अगर लिखेंगे तो एप्लीकेबल होगा, मतलब सही माना जाएगा?
क्यों नहीं माना जाएगा? इट इज एक्चुअली न्यू concept which is being added, and the students which are actually preparing for the competitive examination, this information is very much important for those students.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Any more question? So now today I am going to close down, because if we are going to open the mutual consent theory, naturally we will not be able to complete, and I have to repeat again tomorrow. So that's why today I am closing it. Please disconnect.